we're going to have our second panel, POW in 2022. What, why, and how. So we're going to have everybody come out soon. Okay, our host for this panel is the head of marketing at Bitmain, X-May Lin. X-May, are you back there? I hear X-May somewhere. Oh, okay. Okay, you can. Okay, we're good. We're good to start. X-May, come up on stage. Everybody, give her a big round of applause. Okay. So, along with X-May today, we have Lucien Chen, Antpool's CTO. We have Bob Somerville, from the ETC Cooperative. We have Josh Swihart with Electric Coin Co., Zcash. Matthew Durnia with Kadena Mining Club. Steve Kennard with the Texas Blockchain Council. And Dr. Le Xie with Texas University. Okay, guys, we're ready for you. Come up on stage. At least I think everybody's backstage somewhere.
I think I'm the first one. Okay, here.
Okay, here we go. Everybody's coming at once. Everybody give them a big hand of applause.
Just sit. Yeah, that's good. No?
I don't know. I'll be here.
That's fine, no problem. Okay, we missed a very important guest. Bob Somerville, we need you. Where are you? Okay, let's just start first. Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending our World Digital Summit. And I'm X-May, the head of marketing from Bitmain. And today I will hold a panel about POW, which is proof of work. I invite some very important guests from the POW ecosystem. They're all experts and have a lot of industry experience and really some very deep insights. And we will talk about some topics about the POW in 2022, what, why, and how. Now stay tuned and let's start. Okay, first, before topics, I want all the guests to introduce yourself. I know you're all very famous, but just tell our audience who you are and what's your job. Okay, first I think from Lucien.
大家好，我叫 Lucien， 我是 NFTs 的 CTO。NFTs 呢，现在是全球领先的多币种矿池。我们除了就基础矿池业务以外，我们现在也会就是打造一个很强大的一个 POW 生态社区。
Okay, thank you, Lucien. Okay, then Josh. Josh is from Zcash. My friend Josh, tell us about yourself.
Yes, Josh Swihart. I'm the Senior Vice President at a company called the Electric Coin Company. We invented and support a cryptocurrency called Zcash. Zcash is a privacy-preserving currency. It's been around for a little while, since we launched in 2016.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Then Steve.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Kennard, Director of Bitcoin Mining Analytics at the Texas Blockchain Council. My work has been focused on business development and engagement with cities. We got the first city in the United States, the city of Fort Worth in Texas, to mine Bitcoin, and so I'm working to develop more relationships with cities and universities and promote proof of work throughout the country.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, then next Matthew.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. First, let me just thank Bitmain, May, and all of the sponsors of this event. This has been absolutely spectacular. Thank you very much. My name is Matthew Durnia. I started mining cryptocurrency about 1.5 years ago in my apartment, and I very quickly maxed out the 150 amp breaker in my apartment. It really got to the point where I had to turn the miners off to use a microwave or use any kind of high-powered electronic. But I wasn't quite there where I could really afford to get a facility of my own or buy a bulk order of miners on my own. So through that process, I had an idea to start a company called Kadena Mining Club. And what we're doing is fractionalizing ASICs to give everybody a chance to mine cryptocurrency, no matter where you are in the world, what your electricity rate is, what your income, or what infrastructure limitations you may have. So with all that being said, I'm again really grateful to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Then Dr. Xie.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lei Xie. I am a professor. I guess I'm the only professor here. Anybody? Any other professor here?
Other professors?
I'm a professor at Texas A&M University, where I am helping to run the energy digitization effort at the Energy Institute. We educate the next generation talents, and we develop innovation that is going to drive the ecosystem for the future. So very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, let's enter into the first question. What is POW? What is proof of work? Could any of our speakers expand it in a very simple language? I want to ask Steve first for this question.
Sure, I often travel around. I meet with city councils and people that have little to no familiarity with Bitcoin or proof of work at all. And a way I start the conversation off is that proof of work is a piece of data that's difficult to find, but relatively easy to verify. It's the way that a node that validates transactions on a network earns the right to validate those transactions. And I stress that word earn, because at the end of the day, what proof of work provides to the network is assurance that energy was required to earn that right. And energy is a universal value across all cultures and time. And so that's what proof of work delivers, is decentralization and security in a digital age. And it's all based on energy. And usually that helps, I think, to start the conversation off of what the value proposition is that proof of work brings to a distributed ledger. It is the security, and it's really just a piece of data at the end of the day, and often people don't understand or appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Steve. What do you think about it, Matthew?
Yeah, so to actually prepare for this, I was Googling last night. I wanted to Google, what is proof of work? And if you'll all just bear with me for a moment while I read you the definition that came up first. Proof of work is a form of cryptographic proof in which one party proves to others that a certain amount of a specific computational effort has been expended. Verifiers can subsequently confirm this expenditure with minimal effort on their part. Now, I know a lot of us in here, we're smart, we understand proof of work, we get it, but for the average person, that really doesn't make any sense. So how do we put proof of work into simpler terms that everybody can understand? To do this, I'd like to look back to last year's NFT bull run. Whether you like NFTs or not, it's undeniable that they brought millions of new people into the cryptocurrency space, which is fantastic. Tens of billions of trading volume, market capitalization, all for something that doesn't provide any value. So why did this happen? I like to think it's because us humans, we're visual learners. Terms like proof of work, cryptocurrency, blockchain, they may be intimidating, right? But a physical representation, a picture, or an NFT of something, it makes sense. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So this right here is an ASIC computer. This is proof of work. These ASICs really exemplify the core aspects of blockchain, of security and decentralization. Anybody can run these in their house, and the more miners that are running, the more secure the network actually is. The ASICs are what separates proof of work from something like proof of stake. I just said ASICs exemplify the core components of blockchain, being security and decentralization. And without the miners, what is the blockchain? What is it? As Darren stated earlier, proof of stake is hundreds and hundreds of years old. It's very old technology. It really allows the stakeholders to have a direct effect on what happens with the protocol. Proof of work is just ran by these computers, and it's a lot harder to damage the network with proof of work, and it's because of these computers. So proof of work, that is really that is what makes blockchain. It really is the core component, and that's why proof of work blockchains like Bitcoin and Kadena, for example, are incredibly powerful in terms of the security and decentralization of the blockchain.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. This one is very cute.
Oh yeah.
It's so cute.
A little ASIC miner. These are our NFTs, so check us
Wow.
out, Kadena Mining Club.
Very interesting. Okay, before the second question, now finally Bob comes. Okay, Bob, please introduce yourself to our audience. I know you are famous, just...
Hey everybody, is this working? Yeah. Hey, so I'm Bob Samuel. I'm the Executive Director of the ETC Cooperative, supporting the Ethereum Classic ecosystem. I've been involved in the blockchain ecosystem since sort of 2014, 2015. First on the Ethereum side, Hyperledger as well, Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, and more recently ETC. So yeah, sorry I'm late here. I guess we started a little earlier than planned. So hi.
Okay, thank you. And we all know that NPO CEO has just announced that NPO will invest $10 million to ETC. So congratulations, Bob.
Well, thank you.
Viva
Thank you,
ETC.
and Paul. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think we're sort of entering a really quite sort of exciting phase where, with the merge imminent on Ethereum, you've actually got a real differentiation there between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, which has been more of a philosophical rather than a practical thing. So I think, yeah, we are going into a new phase of proof of work, and it's going to be great to see how that all plans out.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next questions. We know POW is a fundamental consensus of a blockchain. But there's not only POW, right? We have POS and others. What are speakers think of the dispute between POW and POS? I want to ask this question for Josh. This is a question for you, right? Will it be hard?
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm kind of an interesting person to have up on this panel at this particular conference because so Zcash is in the midst of working through with the community and moving to proof of stake, away from proof of work. And our plan right now within the community is to look at doing that over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. There's a number of reasons that we're looking at doing it. Some of them may be obvious, but maybe some not. I'm actually going to read a list from my phone so I don't forget some of those things. So certainly the climate change, the kind of issues with climate change, and that is a concern for many in the Zcash community. For them, whether it's their personal belief in some case or whether it's optics, because we work with regulators and folks around the world, and people are worried about that concern, and also with the mainstream. But again, that's not the only reason. So another one is security. So with proof of work, it's 51% attack and a rollback on the chain. We've seen that happen multiple times. With proof of stake, we have the possibility of something called absolute finality that allows for the security of the network, and then the validators that are responsible for validating ultimately get slashed if they do something bad, if they try to double spend on the network. So that's another one. A huge one that we've talked a lot about was when ASICs came onto the network in, I think it was roughly 2018, Zcash lost 90% of its users around the world because most of the users around the world were using GPUs to mine Zcash, and that was no longer an option for them because the hardware was too expensive. So maybe this fractionalized ASICs kind of thing model might work, but that's a concern. We want more people to be able to participate in holding and using it. The other thing that we saw is a tremendous amount of down pressure in the price. So unfortunately, many of the people that are mining ZEC don't have like a strong allegiance to ZEC. It's used to get to another currency. So a lot of the mining, what we saw with behavior of a lot of the miners that were coming on with ASICs were selling the coin and putting downward pressure on the price of the coin, which is totally disruptive to kind of the broader user experience because we had such high inflation kind of coming out through the first 4 to now 6 years. There's others, interoperability. So with absolute fidelity, I have the ability to do some things cross-chain. So I can take ZEC and move it off of a certain protocol's island, off of the Zcash island, and move it into DeFi applications for other people to be able to use the token. That's a really important one. And then there's other things related to like coin holder voice, which is really important, censorship resistance, and some other benefits. So we're like weighing right now, we're doing a bunch of research, and we're weighing pros and cons of proof of work and proof of stake. Community's having that conversation. There's conversations, do you do a like hybrid kind of solution? Do you need to cut over fully? What does that mean? What are the implications? It's just something we're kind of wrestling with as a community right now.
Okay, thank you, Josh, and we totally understand your concerns. And we understand that only after research we will know POW and POS which one is better. So we support research. Though we believe in POW, then we agree that only after research you will find out that which one is better. And also in the future, we will do some give back activities to the Zcash community. And so thank you, Josh, anyway. Okay, then next, Steve, what do you think about it?
Sure. We as the Texas Blockchain Council, we support innovations across the broader digital asset space. And so I don't take an anti-proof of stake position, but rather I think it's important to draw the distinction and go back to how do validators of transactions earn that right. And so what I mentioned earlier is what makes proof of work so powerful is they earn that right through energy, and that's something that has universal value, indisputable in every human civilization. That to me is what really makes it rise above, is something that delivers decentralization and security in a digital asset. And particularly in the case of Bitcoin, it's what has protected the largest and most liquid of all of the coins. And so I think that will continue to have value. But there are also other ways to validate transactions and support a decentralized consensus. So I think it's about pros and cons and kind of weighing what the most, what the priorities are of an end user of that network. And the differentiation in proof of work is that energy-based money, and I think that will continue to have a very strong value proposition. Okay, thank you. No matter Josh or Steve, I think they all agree that POW is important, but why is it important, and how does POW truly, change blockchain and change our daily life? This is a question for you, Bob.
So, yeah, I mean, I think essentially when Bitcoin was created, proof of work, I think, was one of the sort of the greatest innovations that happened at that point. In that you have something there which is sort of truly disconnected and independent from the other participants that you have in there. That you have this real division of responsibility and power there between the block producers, the coin holders, the users, the developers. You have all of these separate groups, and specifically there with proof of work, you don't have this gating requirement to hold the coins to be able to participate in that consensus. That when you have a proof of stake set up, you have this kind of gating requirement of needing to be within the system to participate in the system, where on proof of work, you really do have this true permissionless on-ramp where anyone with the access to hardware, obviously, but that you can come into the system as a complete outsider and and get your on-ramp that way. in any kind of proof of stake system, you're having to, get hold of the coins before you can start it. So that basically makes you subject to all the same kind of, real world legal, geopolitical constraints that you have in existing systems. So, again, there've been talk earlier about proof of stake is not a new thing, and that really is the case. Proof of work, I think, is something which is often very undervalued, but I think it was a true and huge innovation at that point, which you haven't really got anything which you can switch in, which has the same characteristics. I mean, that's not to say that POW is the only solution for all kinds of systems. I think you've got value propositions all over the spectrum of choices. For a lot of enterprise scenarios, for example, you're probably working within a situation with real-world legal entities and real legal agreements anyway. But that is not the case for permissionless public chains. So I think that you really have something very, very unique with proof of work as an L1 in that scenario. And I mean, I think often people try and put everything into that L1, and sort of think, for example, okay, well, really we want to have, all payment transactions in the whole world on an L1 chain, right? That really maximalist thought of, well, hey, you've got Bitcoin and Bitcoin will do everything for everyone in the world. And obviously that will never work. You have these trade-offs between scalability, decentralization, security. So, L1 chains with that maximal decentralization, will likely not scale, but that's okay too. But I think you have something very, very unique in an L1 proof of work chain, which you really cannot replicate those characteristics in anything else. So I think, that is a really, truly, truly important thing to have.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much. That's really deep insights. And Lucy, what do you think about it?
就是我认为 POW 之所以有重要的原因因为有2个点，一个点是资产锚定，另外一个点是去中心化。资产锚定我可以来具体解释一下，就是目前其实我们获取数字货币的方式有2种，一种的话就是通过挖矿得来，第2种方式的话就是去交易所购买。所以 POW 的话其实是让一个用户通过法币去购买矿机，进而去挖矿，去获得数字货币最直接的方式。所以 POW 的产生会让更多的人去了解区块链，去加入区块链。所以 POW 的话，本质它其实是连接物理世界和虚拟世界的一个最好的桥梁。当然 ，POW 币的价值的锚定的话，它其实也是依据于它背后的这种资产的锚定，就是有多少矿机，那其实的话就可以去锚定出来这个 POW 币种的价值，这是一点。另外一点的话就是，本身 POW 的话是最安全和最去中心化的共识算法，所以用户购买矿机之后的话，其实就可以参与到这种去中心化的这种打包交易的过程里。那基于 POW 的区块链，它的节点数目会很多，所以这其实它也是提供了一个很强大的共识基础。对。
Okay, thank you, Lucien. And next question is for Dr. Xie, because Dr. Xie is very professional in the research of energy and Bitcoin mining. So this question is a little sharp. Some people say that POW is not clean, it consumes too much energy. What do you think about it? I think you have some slides to show us, right?
So it's,
this way?
Yeah, go this
yeah.
way. Yeah. I guess it's 4 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. You might want to have a bit of a lecture time. So I prepared a few slides so that I just cannot resist having a bit of a lecture time, so bear with me for 2 minutes. Before I answer your question, I want to first draw your attention to something just happened in the past few weeks. And before that, this is where I am coming from, Energy Institute at Texas A&M, one of the greatest universities working on energy problems. And we have Steve is one of our proud alum here, Gigam, Aggies. So we work with a wide range of partners trying to forge the way for energy innovation. So something happened just last few weeks. This is the global hash rate. Again, may not be exact, but you roughly know the idea. Between July 8th and July 13th, there's a noticeable 15% to 20% reduction of global hash rate. What happened? What's going on? And I got a phone call from some, TV from Houston and say, hey, can you talk about the heat wave in Texas and how we might survive the next heat wave? I'm like, oh, something is very hot in Texas. And then global hash rate got reduced by 15%. What's going on here? It is because the electricity consumption, especially when it comes to peak time, is one of the key bottlenecks of the sustainable development of the hash rates in this POW world. And you see some news like this. On that particular Monday, there was about like 18% of reduction of global hash rate. And on that particular day, the claim, again, this is a claim yet to be verified, the claim was about 1 gigawatt of mining demand was shut down in Texas. So I think we are not ready to claim cost causation, but definitely there is a correlation here. The correlation is the very strong correlation between the stressness of the grid and the performance of the hash rate. So what does that suggest us? It suggests us that one needs to look much more closely with each other between the mining world and the energy and power world. And these are just some of the sample activities that we have been doing. You guys are out there making real money. We are having fun writing papers. So, but these are something we actually seriously conducted some research on what exactly does it mean, the POW or the amount of energy consumption on the grid. Is it clean, no clean? What is the demand flexibility when such a stress moment happened, right? And in a broader context, as the world is going towards this carbon neutral transition across the economy, electricity and transportation are the top 2 carbon emitters. So if you want to do anything on carbon neutral transition, you need to take care of electricity and mobility. But when it comes to electricity and mobility, the infrastructure, the power grid, the roads are far from being ready. And you imagine on top of that, you're adding the additional POW kind of activities on top of an aging, stressed infrastructure. What is going to happen? So I think I have a few messages for that. While every kilowatt is the same when it comes to powering the mining unit, not every kilowatt is created equal. When it comes to cleanness or non-cleanness, you can't just look at one particular kilowatt. You have to look at that particular region's energy portfolio. So that's message number 1. Message number 2, I think this ecosystem should not only think about consuming the power, but more importantly, should think about contributing to the power grid. What does that mean? It means something like demand flexibility. It means something like emergency responses. So there's a great win-win opportunity out there between this ecosystem and the power and energy infrastructure systems. And I'm going to make the third point, and I'm going to finish my answer, which is more of a bold statement. I believe, not long into the future, we're not going to be bothered by energy shortage problems. We'll have more than enough energy coming from renewables. Trust me, trust us, we are working along the line. We're going to have more energy than you need. So it's not a problem of energy. It's a problem of instantaneous power. And these two are different, by the way. And when it comes to that, flexibility makes all the differences. And think about yourself as a great resource of flexibility provider. And that is the ecosystem I wish you can drive over. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Xie.
Distinguished guests, my great honor to join the World Digital Mining Summit. I'm Haiken Liu, the Hong Kong Sustain Tech Foundation Professor in Accounting and Finance at PolyU.
Let's go to the next question, also the last question. And what do you guys think the future of POW? And how can we improve the POW ecosystem and create a better blockchain world? And first, this question is for Steve.
Yeah, as a graduate of Texas A&M, I'm proud to have Professor Xie up here, and this is a picture of what the future looks like. I think that as this industry continues to mature, like many other industries, the way that we continue to provide the narrative for stakeholders is by partnering with universities like Texas A&M that can really bring analysis of data and expertise to how Bitcoin mining will be incorporated into strengthening the grid and bringing more energy resources to market. Professor Xie is right. The issue here isn't availability of energy. I'll give you one statistic. Just in Texas, we have 20 gigawatts of solar energy that have completed their interconnection study. And what that means is people have actually placed collateral for that interconnection. Real money has been posted for those projects. And that just gives you an idea of the scale of opportunity just in Texas that we have, just with the solar resources. That's not talking about wind and natural gas and everything else that we have. But the question there is, how do we get it to market? And the transmission is where we have most of the struggle of moving those resources from rural areas to urban areas where they're really mostly needed in these hot days in July when demand spikes. There's nothing else that can contribute more to that effort than Bitcoin mining, and it has enormous implications and value for all citizens of Texas and people around the world. So I think partnerships with universities are critical, and the other partnerships are with cities and municipal governments themselves. As I mentioned earlier, we got the city of Fort Worth to start mining. They've just got one S19. It's a very small pilot project, admittedly, but it's a first step that can scale to something that's really meaningful. I'm currently working with 6 other cities that are very interested in exploring similar pilot projects. That's just in Texas. We're going to start to expand that across the country because cities have a stake in this, because by partnering with Bitcoin miners, they can support financing more transmission to bring these power resources to their communities. And that translates to a cleaner, more environmentally friendly grid for everyone. More availability of power will be cheaper power rates for everyone. And then you have the investment, the tax revenue, and the jobs that Bitcoin miners bring to these communities. It's a rare example of an actual win-win for everybody involved. And the more I meet with these cities, I can tell you they're starting to understand and appreciate this. And it's really exciting to think about what that future can hold. So I encourage everyone in this room, reach out to us. Let's partner with people like Professor Xie at Texas A&M, because this is how we really take this industry to the next level. And particularly as we approach the next halving, where I think we're going to have a significant run-up in prices, we'll be positioned to really tell the story that it's not just about price volatility, it's about the value this can bring to communities. And we can capitalize on that opportunity by building right now. And so the seeds need to be planted right now to prepare this industry to take advantage of that opportunity.
Thank you, Steve. Then Josh?
Yeah, I don't think it's binary. I don't think it's proof of stake or proof of work. And if you're all in on one, I would my opinion is diversify, right? Yeah. Because you have all of this data center scale and this kind of understanding, and reality is Ethereum has moved or is moving very soon. So we hear to proof of stake. Projects like Zcash may move to proof of stake. Proof of work is not going away. There's no foreseeable future where Bitcoin is not proof of work. That I've seen in spite of some kind of problems to deal with. But if you can manage both, if you can participate in a network by securing the network as a validator as well as a miner, I think that's probably pretty smart.
Thank you, Josh. Is it Matthew?
Yeah, so I think in many respects, the future of proof of work is actually here, whether it's the increase of production of renewable energy to power the miners or in the technology itself. One of the main issues with proof of work technology has always been scalability. So you look at Bitcoin, 5 transactions per second, a 10-minute block time. You look at Ethereum. I mean, we all know about the Ethereum gas problems. I don't think we have to talk too much about that. So it's that scalability aspect that proof of work has always struggled with handling. And this relatively new layer 1 proof of work blockchain called Kadena solves that scalability problem. On their testnet, they've been able to conduct 480,000 transactions per second with no real gas fees for the end user, which is actually amazing. And they're able to do that by actually running multiple chains. So it's not just one chain like Bitcoin. They actually expand it using graph theory. It's called chain web. So they're able to run 20, 50 chains simultaneously all at once in order to keep the fees down and the transactions flowing. And you don't have to take just my word for it. I mean, just look at the 2 individuals who started Kadena, Stuart Popejoy and Will Martino. They both started Juno, JP Morgan's first blockchain in 2016 before leaving to start Kadena. And Will Martino was the SEC tech lead before he went over to JP Morgan, met Stuart, and built Kadena. And they were joined in 2019 by Dr. Stuart Haber. So some of you may know Dr. Stuart Haber, the co-inventor of blockchain technology back in the 90s, and the most cited author in the Bitcoin white paper in 2009, actually joined them as an advisor and a cryptographer. So they have an absolutely stacked team, and things are really just kicking off on the Kadena blockchain. NFTs, DeFi, dApps, it's all launching this year. I highly recommend everybody do their own research on it, because I have been talking to people here, and I have been a little surprised with how few people have actually heard of it. The most profitable miners last year were Kadena miners, $500, $600 a day for a couple of months. Absolutely insane. And then to just pivot to another aspect, we think about mining and how it originally started with everybody just being able to start a computer, run your computer at home. You didn't have to have anything particularly fancy to participate in the network and earn rewards for doing so. But now we have the ASICs have came out, GPUs are readily available, and running an ASIC is tough for a lot of people, whether it's due to the electric cost or they can't just have them in their apartment. 83% of the people in the United States live in an urban environment, so that's either an apartment or a relatively small home, and you just can't reasonably host their miners. So that's what we're doing with Kadena Mining Club, is we're, like I said before, we're able to actually link the specific chips from the miner directly to the NFTs. So we're just selling ASIC miners, and that's it. And we're using the amazing technology provided by Kadena to do so. And just one final thing on Kadena, for, really, especially if you're interested in politics or using it for business, they have the first human-readable smart contract language called Pact. So you're not relying on your Solidity developers to tell you what's doing what. You can actually go in there and read the smart contract yourself and figure out what it's doing. And that is huge for corporate adoption, for government adoption. 300 million market cap, less than $2 a coin. Definitely take a look.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. And then Lucy?
我从技术角度的话，去对它做一个分析，就是因为我们能看得到，就是目前 POW 的话有没落之势，原因是什么呢？因为现在市值前10名的币种里边，除了比特币，只有以太坊，而以太坊我们众所周知，马上就要转成 POS， 所以说的话，等于就是前10名的市值里边，真正的 POW 的话，现在只有比特币。那究其原因的为什么呢？是因为本身 POW 的话，其实它的性能很低，所以说你很难能够在 POW 这个币种之上去做有价值的应用，所以这样的话呢，你很难有用户能够参与进来。所以我觉得解决性能问题可能是 POW 一个非常重要的未来。 那目前我们能看得到，就是我觉得 POW 的未来可能就是roll up， 对 roll up 的话，它就可以大幅提高整个的这个 TPS， 然后可以让更多的应用可以跑在 POW 的币种之上，进而的话就可以让它能够有更有价值的这种DApp， 然后以及用户可以参与到这种 POW 的币种之中。
Okay, thank you, Lucien. And then Dr. Xie?
I think, as Lucien was mentioning, I believe in the power of technology innovation. So while you guys have contributed so much to put POW at this stage, there's still a few bottlenecks. Speed of transaction, security, and so on, and energy efficiency. We got to just keep at it. There's still out there a lot of opportunities for research innovation, which I think is really the way to upgrade it to the next level. Of course, POS also has its own merit and has a lot of interesting features. I think you mentioned about diversification, right? So having a diversified view and diversified portfolio, it's something always worth keeping in mind.
Yes, thank you. And Bob, do you want to answer this question?
Maybe just to add a little bit to that, I think something that people often underappreciate is how many layers and richness of ecosystem that you have to have for any technology to succeed. If you think back to the beginnings of the web or the beginnings of mobile, when these things started, you were working at a very low primitive layer, and then over time you get more and more middleware, frameworks, support systems. And I think really where you see technologies really succeeding in the world and really hitting that mass market, what the layers below are, users don't touch that stuff. There's layers and layers on top, and the innards of how these things work are really of very little interest to end users. We drive cars. Who knows how cars work? Who could maintain their own car? What's the internet? How do phones work? People don't know these things, and they don't care because they don't need to care. So I think that's the same kind of maturity that we're going to see within the blockchain ecosystem over the next few years as you get more and more mass market adoption. Is these things are just sort of low down, and from our perspective, because we're right in the middle of it, we are obviously focusing on these low-level aspects, but ultimately, that's detail which does not matter to end users. What really matters to end users is, what does this thing do for me? Here is a product that provides me some value, and that's really where things are going to get driven. Is useful applications and devices which provide value to people. And we've got a lot of work to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Now we end our questions today, and then we enter into the free Q&A time. And first, our guests, you can ask each other some questions too. Do you want to ask any guests?
What applications do you guys like to use? What do you see value in as a human being, personally?
That's a hard question.
I think Moon Wallet on Lightning is a really cool app just because it's completely open source. It's very user-friendly. It takes 30 seconds to be operating. I've gotten many people to open it up, and I'll send them their first Satoshis. It's super easy to use, no KYC. So I recommend it to people that haven't interacted with the Lightning Network as a payment platform.
Okay.
Yeah, so how you just were talking about how the real end goal for blockchain technology and proof of work technology is for the end user to be using it without even knowing that they're using it. And a really good example of that, there's a company called DocuShield, which is using Kadena's private blockchain called Kuro to build military-grade document storage. So privacy is really important to me. You know, Microsoft, AWS, they've pretty much all been hacked by this point. But proof of work blockchains are very durable, very unlikely to get hacked. So if I am going to be putting very important documents somewhere, maybe a private blockchain is a good place to put them.
What do you think about it? Can I answer your question?
Yeah, I'd welcome any thoughts from other people. Josh, look at that, you're sitting there.
No, is there any questions out here?
Yeah, maybe ask some audience members.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's a hard question. Yeah.
Or any questions about anything, really?
Yeah.
You have
Any
the
questions
opportunity.
You want to ask our guests?
As a data scientist, it's frustrating about not being able to fight the media narrative about the energy usage of proof of work, where electricity and metering is a somewhat easily measured data point. So can you describe how do we communicate better as an industry about proof of work and energy consumption when the data is there? It's just a matter of collecting it and communicating it.
I think one of the best things we can do, and perhaps Professor can comment on this as well, is have institutions with a very widely respected brand like Texas A&M, particularly in Texas, that bring a lot of expertise to help put data behind the reality that proof of work is a valuable component to strengthening any grid. When a miner says that, it's received a lot differently by the public than when a university can help provide research that supports that in a third-party kind of vetted way. And that's what we're trying to really support within the Texas Blockchain Council. And I'd love to see more universities embrace this kind of research and then help the industry also grow to do better and not just only talk about the good, but also opportunities to improve and help educate the public more. And I think generally people are more receptive to inform themselves through a university or a third party like that instead of kind of industry-based sources.
Just to piggyback what Steve said, it's a great question and great observation. I see there's a very important need out there, as you articulated, the kind of a precision level control and knowledge of the energy footprint of big and small mining activities. So we are actually, in the process of developing such initiatives at our university. We welcome, industry partners, either you're a mining company or a pool company or device company, to kind of work with us to create a transparent platform that could really, provide trustworthy information about data on energy and potentially carbon footprint into the different aspects of the mining activities. So, yeah.
Yes.
Technology is there. You just need to build a platform. Right, so.
Any more questions? Okay, I think our panel is finished today. And last, I have some surprise, a little gifts for all our panel guests. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
This is Bing Dun Dun.
Looks like something my
It's
daughter's.
a mascot of the Beijing Olympic Winter.
Thank you.
It's very cute. You can send it to your children or nephews.
Yeah, my daughter will love this thing.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
these are collectibles, so if you
Yeah.
keep them in the box, I'm sure it's
And
always a
it's
good
free.
thing.
You can give it to your children. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks
pretty
for
awesome. I
panel
like
guests. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Everyone, please give a big hand to all our panelists.
Yeah.
Okay, great job, guys. Yeah. Great job. Great job. So it's interesting to see the relationship between energy, the types of energy, energy development, and proof of work. That was a great opportunity to learn more about how energy and being active in your local region is important to operating as a blockchain.